Not gonna lie to you, these tournaments are kind of my thing on Underdog. I mean, these high stakes tournaments, specifically the Bulldog Draft, I had a ton of success in last year. I mean, with the Bulldog Draft, it's a $500 buy-in. It's a little bit of a smaller prize pool than what you would see in like the large Best Ball Mania $15 million prize pool, $25 buy-in on Underdog. This is a $500 entry, 432 teams entered. First place in the tournament I won a year ago was $20,000. In this tournament this year, it is $30,000. But yeah, we were the only person to, I think, in the history of Underdog Fantasy, win multiple high stakes tournaments in a single season. Last year, we won the Big Dog for $100K. We won the Bulldog for $20,000. And we're going to cover our first Bulldog draft of the season. I spent $500 on this team. But before we get into it, make sure you go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you want to get into a draft with us, usually we're doing a lot of $5 drafts, $10 drafts on the live stream. You can sign up and use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. When you use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. And on top of that, you are going to get my 2023 fantasy football rankings and a free trial to flockfantasy.com, available in damn near every state. Pause it and you can see the map of it right there. But let's go into this, right? We pulled the 5 pick, and to be honest with you, I'm comfortable at 5. There at 5, I think we're going to be getting an elite wide receiver in a lot of these drafts, which is exactly what we do. We get Cooper Kupp in the first round. Now, if you were playing in like a shallow redraft league, right, where you're only starting 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex, then sure, maybe there you could consider a running back. Maybe then you can consider Travis Kelce. But in my mind, knowing in these Underdog drafts that wide receivers will fly off the board, and it's going to be incredibly difficult to find one of these guys that we like at a value later on, we have to go with our anchor wide receivers. I want to be grabbing a wide receiver round 1 and 2. Historically speaking, this isn't what you wanted to do in fantasy drafts. Historically speaking, you want to be going running back, and then slamming wide receivers in the middle rounds. But we've talked in depth about the strategy this year being a little bit different, just because in these Underdog drafts, wide receivers have been pushed up so far to a point where we've never seen anything like this before. So we grab Kupp at 5, and then on the way back around, there'll be a couple different targets that we have. One of the guys that we're going to be looking at will be Nick Chubb. Really hoping that Chubb makes it on his way back around. And if we're able to pair up Cooper Kupp, Nick Chubb at the gate, I'm going to be really excited about that. But instead of it being Chubb, we are actually getting Chris Olave in the second round. And I understand a lot of people are going to sit here and go, my gosh, Mason, you can't be going Chris Olave. Chris Olave doesn't have the same ceiling as what you're going to see with the running backs in this range. You need to go ahead and instead you need to be taking Tony Pollard. And I completely understand the hesitation, right, with Chris Olave. I mean, this is a wide receiver that was never viewed as a truly elite player, right? He's not viewed as Jamar Chase. He's not viewed as Justin Jefferson. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to go through and look at exactly how good his rookie season was. So we went through and headed over to RotoViz, put in 6.5 targets per game, 70 receiving yards per game, and 9.2 yards per target, and looked at wide receivers since 2005. You have Odell Beckham Jr. did this as a rookie, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, AJ Green, Keenan Allen, and Chris Olave. If you're looking at the average for these wide receivers going into year 2, you had 6.2 receptions per game and you had 81 receiving yards per game. So naturally, Chris Olave is on pace to be a top 10 wide receiver based on his rookie season production. Then on top of this, we add on the fact that you're getting the quarterback upgrade going from Andy Dalton to Derek Carr. I'm very comfortable with the selection of Chris Olave here, knowing that we'll find a running back that we're really excited about in round 3. That's exactly what we get. We actually get Josh Jacobs making it back around to us at pick 29. And in my mind, if we were looking at a running back wide receiver pairing, we could either go late second round, Tony Pollard, and then in the middle of the third, instead of going with Josh Jacobs, we could take DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley. Sure, I understand maybe you really like Metcalf, maybe you really like Pollard. In my mind, maybe I'm biased because Josh Jacobs was my most drafted player a year ago. I would much prefer the combo of Chris Olave and Josh Jacobs in comparison to what you'd be getting with Tony Pollard, DK Metcalf. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to go down that road. Now, round 4, it is a little interesting. So because we go ahead and pass up on the elite level quarterbacks at the end of round 2, And on top of this, we get a sense of how this draft board's working, where the team at pick 2 decided to grab Jalen Hurts at the beginning of the 3rd. The team at pick 3 got Josh Allen. If you were just mapping out how the next few rounds were going to go, there's a pretty good shot that we had Justin Herbert making it back around to us in the middle of round 5. So I understand a lot of people maybe want to go Jerry Jeudy here. And if you're going to look at my rankings right now, of course, you can find them on flogfantasy.com. You'll see that we have Mike Williams and Jerry Jeudy very similar to each other. I mean, in a lot of other drafts, maybe I go Jerry Jeudy over Mike Williams, but I wanted to set us up with the ability to go ahead and take an elite quarterback in round 5. I really like Herbert. I mean, last year you had Herbert going in round 4, and he has a much better situation this season with the addition of Quentin Johnston. So instead, I decided to go Mike Williams, pick 44, setting ourselves up with the ability to take Justin Herbert in round 5. And that's exactly what we get. We get Justin Herbert on the way back in round 5. Now, round 6, this is the first time where I'm sitting here going, yeah, I could have done this different, right? And I think if we would have known exactly how the rest of the draft would have played out, I would have gone ahead and I probably would have taken a wide receiver, even if I think Dallas Goedert is a better selection than George Pickens, Jordan Addison, Deontay Johnson, Treylon Burks. I do believe that Dallas Goedert is the best player in this range. At the end of the day, I probably should have just taken a wide receiver anyway, knowing that wide receiver dried up for us very quick in this draft. And you will see quickly that, yeah, we have no wide receivers for a very long time. We have that core of Cooper Kupp, Chris Olave, Mike Williams. We'll talk about a little more of the strategy behind this in a little bit, but we go Dallas Goedert at 68, a player that I've drafted a lot here at the end of the 6th round, and I continue to plan on taking him a lot. Now, 77 is a difficult selection. Not going to lie to you with this. 77, we went through and we took Dalvin Cook. I don't know what to think. At the time of this recording, there are a ton of rumors circulating. Dalvin Cook may be a Jet. Dalvin Cook may be a Dolphin. Dalvin Cook may be a Viking. Why is Dalvin Cook not off the Vikings by now? Hell, it's June 5th. We were told he was going to be off the Vikings by June 1st. I really don't know what you're going to see with Dalvin Cook. And a big strategy in my mind when we are drafting these best ball teams at the beginning of June, I want to be going through and taking players that may have wild swings, right? I want to take someone that, yes, maybe he falls a round or two in ADP, but at the same time, if we knew Dalvin Cook for a fact was staying in Minnesota, maybe Dalvin Cook goes through and takes a pay cut and he stays there as a Minnesota Viking, or maybe he goes to the Chiefs, maybe he goes to the Dolphins. We don't really know what the situation's going to be. It is a possibility that you could see Dalvin Cook rise up and be a late 4th, early 5th round pick. I want to be taking players that you could see their ADP move. Now, going back and looking at this with hindsight, another mistake that I think we can easily admit in this draft, looking at how the rest of this draft played out, is I think we could have gone Hollywood Brown at pick 77 and been very comfortable. I mean, this is before DeAndre Hopkins was cut, but the writing was on the wall, right? Very similar to Dalvin Cook, possibly going somewhere else other than Minnesota. The writing was on the wall that DeAndre Hopkins would not be an Arizona Cardinal this next season. So for us to pass on Hollywood Brown in favor of Dalvin Cook at pick 77, while I still think there are merits to this Dalvin Cook selection, I will say this was most likely the worst decision we made in this draft. Because then we're back up on the clock at 92, and our picks are between Javonte Williams, Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, Jamison Williams, Cortland Sutton. And we are so wide receiver light that at this point, if you are in the puppy draft on Underdog, if you are in the Best Ball Mania tournament where it's a $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool, I mean, just a massive, massive large field tournament, right? You really have no option. You have to go wide receiver here. The wide receivers dry up so quickly. You need so much wide receiver firepower in those large field tournaments that if you pass on a wide receiver, it's clownish and you should be laughed at. But going back to the fact that we won multiple high stakes drafts on Underdog last year, I think we were the only people who have ever done that. A big reason for it is individuals are very stubborn with their draft strategy and not willing to adjust based off the tournament that they are in. So if you were looking at how you attack one of these teams, one of these drafts, where instead there are only 432 entrants versus, say, the Best Ball Mania tournament, right? Where in Best Ball Mania there are 677,000 entrants. They are completely different tournaments that require completely different draft strategies. Here in one of these high stakes, smaller field tournaments, in comparison to the massive tournaments that you'll see at Best Ball Mania or the Puppy, you are able to go running back heavy. You are able to take the extra tight end. You are able to be light on wide receiver because you don't need the highest potential spike week that you're ever going to find in week 15, in week 16, in week 17, of course. So for that reason, I go ahead and I take who I perceive to be the best value on the board, and I go ahead and I take Javonte Williams. Another reason for this is you'll have more teams advance from the regular season to the fantasy football playoff tournament than just what you're going to have in the Puppy 2. So I'm a little less concerned of Javonte Williams missing the beginning of this next season if Javonte Williams can give us that elite ceiling in weeks 15, 16, 17. So I thought that it was a unique spot where Javonte Williams is a little more valuable in this format, where we're able to go a little more running back heavy, wide receiver light, given the small field nature of this tournament in comparison to Best Ball Mania, in comparison to the Puppy. And of course, I will be adjusting for the tournament that we are drafting in. Now, speaking of that adjustment, we continue to take running backs. I continue to go with our fourth running back there with Alvin Kamara at pick 101. Now, very similar to Javonte Williams, Alvin Kamara may miss time this next season. Both of these picks are risky, but very similar to Dalvin Cook. I mean, all three of these running backs we grab in the middle rounds. Instead of taking Elijah Moore, instead of taking Odell Beckham Jr., we're taking running backs that have access to high ceilings, but very low floors, someone that can swing it and win this tournament for us. So yes, Alvin Kamara has red flags. No, you should no longer be drafting Alvin Kamara in round 2, in round 1, as he has been over the past 5 seasons. And you need a significant discount if you will take Kamara in these tournaments. But in my mind, specifically for this tournament with this build, round 9 is a solid spot. Now here, 116 is not the prettiest situation to be in. We go ahead, we take Kirk Cousins. Now with this Kirk Cousins selection, it's very unique in that most teams that take Cousins will draft Kirk Cousins at the beginning of round 9 whenever they have either Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, or Jordan Addison. Now, there are 2 different things at play here. 1, we don't have any of those players. 2, Kirk Cousins does not go at the beginning of round 9. Rather, instead, we're getting him at the end of round 10. So we are going to get about a 20-pick bump for Kirk Cousins with this ADP here. We are going to get some extreme value. And we do have a Minnesota Viking, right? We do have Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook can see a spike week the same time that Kirk Cousins can, considering Dalvin Cook's usage as a pass catcher in this offense. So if we were to see that spike week and Dalvin Cook stays a Minnesota Viking, which of course could change any day now, which is why we're getting a discount on him in this draft, maybe that goes away, but we still have the ability to stack Kirk Cousins a little later on where we so desperately need wide receiver. We go Dalton Kincaid, 125, just taking the ADP value at that point. We go Jamal Williams, 140 to lock up the New Orleans Saints backfield. And then 149, we get very lucky in that KJ Osborne does make it to us. I mean, 149, we are desperate for wide receiver. We are desperate for a pairing to Kirk Cousins. Yes, we have Cousins stacked with Dalvin, but that could go away any second. Yes, we have Herbert stacked up with Mike Williams, but I really want to be getting correlation throughout this entire team. So we get KJ Osborne making it to us, which is a very nice addition to this team. We go Devin Singletary at 164, and this is another big change. There'll be a lot of people that are in these underdog drafts and understand how to optimize for the Puppy tournament, that understand how to optimize for Best Ball Mania, that have had no success in these high stakes tournaments, that don't understand that it's a different strategy, that is a different approach overall. And they'll sit here and go, oh my God, you took a running back, a 164. You took a 6th running back with this build. Mason, you're an idiot. You needed wide receiver more than anything else, and it wasn't even close. And I would agree. If it is that larger field tournament, you need to understand that's the approach that you're going to have. If it's that larger field tournament at 164, you may have to go ahead and you may have to take Wan'Dale Robinson. You may have to take Isaiah Hodgins here. But instead, we get Wan'Dale Robinson 173, a player that I love the value of. Of course, there's a lot of uncertainty. Hell, I mean, he's going after Marvin Mims, Jaden Reed. I mean, we're taking him in the same round as Isaiah Hodgins, Curtis Samuel. He's being drafted as like a wide receiver 7, wide receiver 8. Of course, we're never going to get a sure thing at that price point. But to see the prospect profile you had from Wan'Dale Robinson, to see the clear depth chart in the flashes that we had his rookie season, love the Wan'Dale pick at 173. Love the Josh Downs selection at 188 as well. Like, if I'm going to be honest with you, if I go through and look at these guys as prospects, of course, not taking into consideration the situation that they're in as well, but just looking at prospects, I think Josh Downs was a better fantasy football prospect than Marvin Mims, who goes 160, then Jaden Reed, who goes 157, then Jonathan Mingo, who goes 129, then Rashee Rice, who goes 127, then Jalen Hyatt, who goes 137. Now, of course, I'll take Rashee Rice over Josh Downs. Situation is beautiful. But to be honest with you, I mean, if I'm going to look at Jalen Hyatt 137 and in comparison to Josh Downs 180, I would rather have Josh Downs straight up ignoring the value. Now, this is another thing going back to this being a small field tournament rather than a large field tournament. If this was a large field tournament and you have Dallas Goedert, Dalton Kincaid, you are done drafting tight ends. You do not take a third tight end. But specifically with this being that smaller field tournament, you are able to go a little more heavy on running back, a little heavier in taking that third tight end, and not necessarily going all in on wide receiver like you have to do in the large field ones. So we do go ahead and we take Tyler Conklin at pick 197. I mean, it is what it is. I think you can make an argument for a multitude of different things. The wide receivers that go directly after him here are Mecole Hardman, Kayshon Boutte. If I'm looking at it, who do I think scores more points this next season? Tyler Conklin or Kayshon Boutte? I think it's probably Conklin. Conklin can hit our flex spot. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Tyler Conklin. Last round, what we have to set up here is we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Joshua Palmer. I mean, there is no dodging wide receiver at this point. We are already wide receiver light, so you need to go through. You need to get another guy on this team. We have Justin Herbert. I actually like Joshua Palmer here as a round 18 pickup, given the offense, given the uncertainty that we have with the guys above him. But overall, I actually like this team. Of course, it is very dependent on the format that we are playing in. I mean, we are sitting right now with quarterback of Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins. I like that quarterback room, especially at the values that we had him at. Running back, we have Jacobs, Dalvin, Javonte, Kamara, Jamal Williams, Devin Singletary. Now, of course, a lot of uncertainty there, right? We don't know the exact week one situation for Dalvin Cook, Javonte Williams, Alvin Kamara, but these are players that can have a lot of value on closing line ADP. These are guys that can continue to rise in ADP or continue to fall dependent on the rest of how this offseason plays out. And that's what I'm looking for in these tournaments. Wide receiver, we have Kupp, Chris Olave, Mike Williams, KJ Osborne, Wan'Dale Robinson, Josh Downs, as well as Joshua Palmer. A little light on wide receiver, which would not be advantageous for the large field tournaments, but for the smaller high stakes tournaments, this is what I'm going with. I mean, hell, really like having that cornerstone, those anchor guys with Kupp and Olave, but obviously they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. Then tight end, we have Dallas Goedert, who can definitely give us some spike weeks. Dalton Kincaid, who may do something at the end of the year. And then we went through and we grabbed Tyler Conklin here as well. But I think that's all I have for you. Again, thank you so much for checking out this video. I really hope that this was able to help you out in some way. I really hope you're able to get something from this. And of course, prayers up that we win the Bulldog yet again and we take home this time $30,000 for first place instead of 20. But again, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day. And as always, if you want to get in a draft with us on the live stream, you'll know we'll do like a lot of $5 drafts on Underdog. I mean, hell, best ball, no time commitment during the season. We'll draft over 700 teams there this offseason. And if you want to be a part of it, sign up with promo code FLOCK. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. And on top of that, you'll get my 2023 fantasy football rankings and a free trial at theflockfantasy.com. But thank you again for everything. Really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day and really hope that I get to see you in a live stream later today.